Hello, 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 and welcome back to Noble Self-Publishing. My name is Jen, and today I'm going to talk about which of these 6 publishing options is right for you and your books. This is basically a quick crash course on the 6 different types of publishing options that I have been made aware of. And so if you know of any others or any that I've left out, any that are missing, some actually go by various different names, but if you think of any that I've missed out on, then go ahead and let me know in the comments or by sending me an email. The first option is traditional publishing. Writer's Digest defines traditional publishing as when a publisher offers the author a contract and, in turn, prints, publishes, and sells your book through booksellers and other retailers. The publisher essentially buys the right to publish your book and pays you royalties from the sales. So traditional book publishing is what we typically think of when we think of authors such as Stephen King. These are authors who have made their mark already. They're well established. Traditional publishing was huge years ago, and self-publishing came out and kind of turned this whole publishing industry upside down. So nowadays, traditional publishers have an even stricter submission process. They are not very likely to take on any new talent unless that talent is already established and has a following. And so, if you would like to go the traditional publishing route, then be prepared to do a lot of submissions and to have an agent and to, go through a process. And the only people who really care if somebody is traditionally published or not is literary snobs and other people in the traditional publishing industry. Self-published authors typically don't give a crap how you publish. We are just typically like, hey, live and let live, more power to you, whatever way you want to go, whatever is right for you. At least that's my attitude, but I'm very libertarian, so that's just me. But anyway, traditional publishing is what we typically think of, right? But you're going to have a few hoops to jump through if you're going that route. The next option is Vanity Publishing. Now, this option is actually the option that inspired the how to avoid being scammed section of this video that will come towards the end. So, be very aware of vanity publishers and how they function. Wikipedia defines a vanity press as a publishing house in which authors pay to have their books published. Additionally, vanity publishers have no selection criteria as opposed to other hybrid publishing models, which hybrid I will cover later in this video. The term appears in mainstream U.S. publications as early as 1941. So, vanity presses are publishing houses who are often associated with major traditional publishing houses, or they are subsidiaries thereof. They charge a chunk, usually, because of that big name publisher attached to them, to help other authors, quote unquote, publish. And they call it guided self-publishing. However, and this is the part that irritates me so much and that makes me feel like vanity publishing is a scam, even though it does technically pass all of the criteria for a technical business or a, legitimate business, I guess. But they charge for quote unquote services. And oftentimes this is thousands upon thousands of dollars, sometimes $20,000 or $30,000 out of pocket for the author. And this is supposed to pay for services and marketing and things like that, right? Well, I know as a self-publisher that part of, publishing books is publishing quality books. So effort has to go into it. And most of the time, if you look at books that have been published with vanity presses, they are sloppy and they do not look like they have any effort put into them. They're not edited. They're not formatted right. They are just completely sloppy, and the cover usually looks terrifying. I mean, it's just not a good option. But aside from the outrageous prices that they charge out front, right? This is the part that really, really irks me, okay? Aside from those outrageous prices that they charge up front, vanity presses will also take 75 to 90% of the royalties from sales on the back end. So that leaves the author out thousands, tens of thousands, however many $1,000. Plus, they don't even get to reap the benefits of earning royalties more than 10 to 25%. That's kind of messed up. So please be wary that this is a thing and that this is out there and that this exists. Do your research and be smart. The third option is indie publishing. Indie authors get books to readers in many ways, including trade publishers. Being an indie author is an approach to writing and publishing, a matter of self-definition. If you see yourself as the creative director of your books from concept to completion and beyond, then you're indie. This is the definition of indie publishing from Self-Publishing Advice Center. Now, indie publishing kind of encompasses many different types of publishing. So this is where overlap begins to happen, as with the last two and the traditional subsidiaries, which are vanity presses or have been in the past. Indie publishing kind of is an umbrella term for anything that is not traditional. Anything that is more independent, that allows you more creative freedom and control, that's considered indie. The fourth option is hybrid publishing. Hybrid publishing is an emerging area that occupies the middle ground between traditional and self-publishing, and therefore includes many different publishing models. Basically anything that is not self-publishing or traditional publishing. Other terms that describe this type of publishing include author-assisted publishing, independent publishing, partnership publishing, co-publishing, and entrepreneurial publishing. This definition is according to Writer's Digest. So, while hybrid publishing would fall into the category of indie publishing does not fall into the category of hybrid publishing. And self-publishing does not fall into the category of hybrid publishing either, but it does fall into the category of indie publishing. So, you see where the overlap begins to happen and where kind of gray areas start to emerge. But the more you know and the more of the nuances you can grasp, the better your ability to make an educated decision on which publishing option is right for you. Now, like I've said, for me, it happens to be self-publishing. However, that doesn't mean that that's the right way to go for everyone. You know, I like to know exactly what goes into each aspect of a project, so I like to do it all myself. But whereas I enjoy that process, someone else might get frustrated by it or not even enjoy it. You know what I mean? So why would you do that to yourself? If that's what it is, then that's what it is, right? Option number 5 is guided self-publishing. So guided self-publishing means that the author retains control over their book, but the process of self-publishing is outsourced or consulted upon and or tutored and or taught as the process is undergone. So this, the initial part of this definition is by Ivanka Menken, And the second part of this definition is by me, which is my own perception and clarification on what was already there. So to me, true guided self-publishing is where someone basically takes you under their wing, and you pay them for this, obviously, because they can't work for free. This is basically what I have been doing over the last 10 years for various different authors, is helping them through the process, providing consulting on the way, doing tasks for them that they pay me for. Usually it's a pay me for services and consulting is included type of scenario, but I have found that I've had to raise my rates. Otherwise, it's not worth it for me. And at that point, people may as well go with a larger / more established / team of people. You know what I mean? So I have decided to just pass on what I've learned at this point. Now, keep in mind here on this one that vanity presses will often call themselves guided self-publishers, or they will say, please hire us for guided self-publishing services. This is where they charge you those outrageous fees, and they make you sign a contract to give up most of your royalties at the back end. So be very, very wary of this guided self-publishing term, and do your research before you hire any company or individual to help you with your book. Option number 6 is self-publishing. And I don't have to tell you again that this is my personal favorite, but according to Wikipedia, self-publishing is the publication of any book or other media by its author without the involvement of an established publisher. The author is in control of the entire process, including, for a book, the design of the cover and interior, formats, price, distribution, marketing, and public relations. The authors can do it all themselves or may outsource some or all the work to companies which offer these services. Now, self-publishing is obviously my favorite because you literally retain all of the control. You can update your book as you learn more about marketing and how to implement different marketing strategies for your book sales. And you can update your editions anytime you want. You never have to worry about renewing a contract. You never have to worry about sharing your royalties, and you never have to worry about answering to anybody but yourself and your readers. However, it's not for everyone, because whether you're a do-it-yourself self-publisher or you're a outsource everything self-publisher, you still need to develop new skill sets. If you DIY, you have to develop all the skill sets involved in creating a book that is professional, high quality, and ready for the shelves, even if it never makes it there, right? Because people who are going to purchase your book are going to judge it by all sorts of things, you know? So it does require some work and research and what have you. Whereas when you outsource, you still want to know what your needs are from a marketing and branding perspective for each book. And that way you know who to hire and what work is good and what is shoddy and whether you're getting enough value for your money or not. So if you would like to learn, go ahead and visit nobullselfpublishing.teachable.com and enroll in one of the classes on there. These courses are currently being launched. I'm very slowly but surely finishing all the content, and enrollment is open. So you can go ahead and get started with the first few lessons that have been published. Anyway, next here are some general guidelines to keep from being scammed. And this is referring specifically again back to Vanity Publishing. I can't stress this enough. Do not go with them if you're not prepared to lose out on a whole ton of money. So the best ways to keep from being scammed is to do your research on the publishing company. Okay? Read the contract before signing it. This is imperative. So if you have to pay fees and give up your royalties, it's not a good deal. You never want to have to give up more than, if you're paying fees for services, you can probably expect to do a 50-50 royalty split. Okay. And that's reasonable for both sides. However, if you're paying fees for services, you should not ever be asked to only settle for 10% royalty share as the author, like a Vanity Press would have you do. That's not okay. The other sort of gimmick that Vanity Presses use is that they are attached sometimes to larger traditional publishing houses, and they will claim that if you pay the outrageous fees and use this Vanity Press, that you will have more of a chance with the larger traditional publishing house attached. This is a bunch of BS. It is not true, okay? Traditional publishers, if they're interested in your book, it will be because you have a following and because you have made noise and because you have garnered attention somehow. It will not be because of which self-publishing house or vanity house you chose to publish with. So that's just one note. When you're looking for, especially if you're looking for publishers who claim to be traditional publishers and are not one of the big five, as well as agents, right? Literary agents. Now, quick note, literary agents do not have to have any kind of special education, okay? Any Joe Schmo can walk in off the streets and call themselves a literary agent, so be careful. The best way to differentiate a professional / established literary agent from a scammy faker is to look out for bogus fees. Reading fees, mail fees, fax fees, punctuation fees, any fees that seem kind of ridiculous and excessive. Just be aware and do your research on these companies or people that you're considering, okay? Royalty rates and movie rights shares should be fair to you, the author, okay? If you're paying for services, you should be keeping 50% to 100% of your royalties, right? The way I do it, when I work with the client pays me for my time and my efforts and my knowledge and my services, right? And once that's done, we're done. So I upload for them or I walk them through the upload process, but it is their CreateSpace account, their KDP account, their whatever account, and they are the only people who collect royalties on the back end. I do not touch that. As with most things, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So if they're telling you that, oh yeah, we're a vanity press or, we're a services press and you pay $500 and then you keep, 75% of your royalties, that's excessive. That's not sustainable, and this company is going to go under. I have tried something similar where I do not charge for services and I pay out 50% royalties, and I got to tell you, trying to live on $300 a year is not doable. It's not a smart nor a sustainable business model. So just be aware of all the different scenarios that could happen, okay? Recognizing a vanity publisher. Now, I wrote this in advance, so I'm just going to be reading for a second. A so-called vanity publisher will charge authors a high amount of money to publish and market their book. This monetary investment supposedly goes to paying for services such as editing and book cover design. However, they rarely, if ever, do a great job or live up to their promises. What's even worse is that despite having charged you for services already, a vanity publisher will keep the majority of your book's profit, leaving you with a measly 10 to 25% royalty share for all of your hard work. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very good for an author. So I would recommend against it. Again, do your research. Do your due diligence. Make sure that you are looking up what you're getting into. The best way to do this is to read the contract carefully. If you have any doubts or there's something written in the contract that you cannot understand, ask people you trust for some input, help, advice, etc. Your absolute best bet would be to consult with an attorney about your contract before you sign it. The other thing about the contract is any publisher who refuses to let you see a contract in advance, run away quickly. All that being said, I hope this helps you to determine which publishing option is right for you and your book. And if you would like more information on any of these options, check back often because the rest of this video series is en route. Thank you so much, and I hope you're having a wonderful week. Come back soon to Know Bull Self-Publishing.